Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ayo Dyslexia Podcast. We bring you an amazing topic this evening. We will be speaking about phonics, my favorite topic. Now, do not get me to spell that word. I don't know what it is with phonics that I always struggle with, but today, the wonderful, amazing Ayo will be able to explain to us why phonics is really important. Welcome to our Ayo Dyslexia podcast. We are funded by the National Lottery Community Fund, Social Enterprise Support Fund, and Resonance Limited. Whoa, what a bit of a mouthful that is. That pronunciation just gets me all the time. Now, my name's Elizabeth Techi. I'm the CEO and the founder of Ayo Dyslexia. We do many podcasts. If you follow us on all the different podcast channels, you can see all the topics that we have covered over the last 18 months and more. And today's topic, we are speaking to Ayo Adesina. Have I pronounced your name right, Ayo?
Or just Ayo. Ayo's fine.
Ayo, yeah. Wonderful. We are speaking to Ayo Adesina. Is that right? Adesina. Yeah. Right. We will get all this correct, I promise you, by the end of the podcast. Ayo is a specialist intervention teacher. She has also got a degree in business psychology. She's actually working as a specialist dyslexia teacher in a local primary school. And we will be speaking to Ayo today on why phonics is so important. And I hope you enjoy the podcast. Ayo, welcome to Ayo Dyslexia Podcast.
Hello.
How are you feeling this evening?
I'm feeling good. Good. Thanks for having me.
Now, would you mind giving our listeners an introduction about you, who you are, what you do, and why you think phonics is so important?
So I'm Ayo. I currently work in a primary school. Like Elizabeth said, I did psychology of business management, and then I realized I wanted to go into the education psychology route and work with kids with learning difficulties, especially dyslexia, because I have dyslexia, and growing up, I just found school completely baffling. I didn't understand what was happening. I know I would sit there in class looking at the teacher thinking, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm just going to go with the flow because hopefully one day I'll get it. And one day I did get it. But it would have just been lovely to have someone at school recognize that I had the learning difficulty, but not hinder me because I have it. If anything, push me because I have it. Find different strategies to help me learn. And that would have just been amazing growing up. So I thought I would love to do that for somebody else and just change the view of learning difficulties and how we should approach teaching in general. So yeah, and so now currently, like Elizabeth said, I work at one of the local schools, and it's just been great working with the kids, doing different intervention strategies. Yeah, it's just been great working with them. And phonics, I love phonics. I wish I had a phonics teacher. Oh, I wish the approach of phonics that we have now was there when I was younger, because of the approach to spelling. I felt like growing up, it was here's the word, learn the word, and that's it. Learn the word. Don't really understand the different graphemes and phonemes within the word and how they make up a word. It was more of, this is the word, let's say, compare. You just know it's COMPARE. Kind of told myself in the past, like, oh my goodness, what if I can't spell it? And then also we did learn that C is K, A is A is A, but linking those phonemes together and blending them to make a word, I feel like was not there when I was younger. It was more of just learn the words, these are the sounds. Whereas now in schools, it's very much, right, we're going to learn phonics, and this is our phonics lesson. And today our new sound is A, or our new sound is O, or whatever it is. And I just feel like it's a more structured way to learn how to spell. So yeah, no, personally, I am a great fan of phonics. Yeah.
Right. Fantastic. Now, somebody who's listening right now may want to ask a question. What is graphemes and whatever the other word you said? Now, my pronunciation on words is like swimming in an ocean. So if you do say any big word, I will get you to basically break it all down. What does those two words that you said, which I've completely forgotten, by the way, phonemes or whatever the word is. Yeah. What does it mean? Yeah.
So phonemes are the individual sounds within a word. So A, B, are all phonemes. A is a phoneme, B is a phoneme, K is a phoneme. Graphemes are the letter written down. So phoneme is the sound, it's what you hear. Grapheme is what you see, the actual writing of the letter.
Let me just quickly move on to my second question, Ayo. I just want to ask this, and it's a burning question. I just got to get it out. Why do we need to teach children to learn to spell with phonics?
The benefits of teaching kids with phonics is that they are learning about the sound rather than the letter name. So like you said before that you learned at school A for apple, B for Ben, C for cat. Whereas now using phonics, you are focusing on the letter sound rather than the name. Because with the letter sound, you are able to blend the sounds to form the words. So like we said, with the word cat, you can, by using phonics, using the phoneme, so each sound, you can hear the word that you're even trying to say. And if you keep repeating it, you can then hear that actually you're saying the word cat. Because you're using the phonemes, you're using the sounds of the letters. Whereas if you said CAT equals cat, you can't hear that you're saying the word cat because you're using the letter names. Same thing with the word down. You've got d, ow, n, d, ow, n. You know that there are 4 graphemes, so 4 letters that you're using, but there are only 3 phonemes, 3 sounds. The 3 sounds are d, ow, n, d, ow, n. And once you keep repeating it, or encouraging children to repeat the word that they're trying to say by using the sounds, they can actually hear the words. So phonics, a big part of phonics is being able to hear the words that that you're trying to say. So phase 1 of phonics is mainly about learning, trying to pick up the sounds around you. Or I can hear the winds blowing through the trees. I can hear an airplane. So being able to pick up each sound around you so that when it comes to you saying it, you're able to identify what it is what the words that you are trying to say.
That's absolutely fantastic. In fact, as you were using the phonics way of spelling cat, it suddenly just dawned on me that, of course, it's a lot easier that way, isn't it?
Yeah.
Than it is. But I do know that it can be confusing for people that, when you're just kind of learning, especially when you're an adult of my age.
Yeah. No, it can be confusing because, especially with dyslexic, because of the lack of phoneme awareness. Quite a few dyslexics, not all, I wouldn't say all, but quite a few dyslexics struggle with phoneme awareness, in that being able to relate the sound to the letter name and being able to remember those links and connect those. And then when coming to say the words, remembering what each sound is quite challenging as well. So I think that's I won't say the issue, but the main concern, I believe, with phonics and dyslexia.
Absolutely. That's absolutely wonderful. Can you give me some examples of words? And if you don't mind spelling them for me and using phonics, maybe 3 or 4 words, some of the words that come to your mind and how you would spell it the phonetically way.
Like the word cloud, like the clouds we see in the sky. So curly k. Ow. Ow is a digraph, which means that there are 2 letters that make that one sound. So OU, ow, and d. So there are 4 phonemes, ow, d, but 5 graphemes in that word. Yeah. So that's one of the words.
So we've got cloud. What's the second word for me?
Shop. So we've got sh, which is a sound, comprising of SH. So that's also a digraph. Sh, op. 3 sounds, 4 letters used. So 3 phonemes, 4 graphemes. Yeah. So SHOP are your graphemes. So that's how you would write it. But the sounds are sh, op. So shop, down. So we've got
Down.
d, ow, n. So D-O-W-N. So there are 4 graphemes, 3 phonemes. The ow, n. Owl is similar to cloud, but so they've got the same sound in the middle, the owl sound, but different spelling. That can also get quite confusing for some learners because it's like, yeah, but you said yesterday that OU is owl sound, and now you're telling me OW is also owl sound. Like, what am I like? That's also quite challenging. So sometimes when I teach, I'll do an owl day, let's say, and we'll look at the three, or like let's say however many ways there are to create owl sounds. So OU and OW. And sometimes we just have to learn which way, which word consists of which graphemes, so which letters. So like the word down, we just have to learn that it's OW. Like, I would say, well done for remembering that it is owl sound. But now let's think which 2 letters make that owl sound for the word down.
Wonderful. Fantastic. And of course, if you're teaching, would you be using visuals as well? Because that's the only way I learn.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. Yeah, we use we use all sorts of visuals. Owl. So let's say we're doing owl sounds. We have a picture of a cloud. We have an arrow pointing down, and what else? What other word that consists of owl sounds? Always using visuals. Yeah, always, and using colors and everything, just so that they can make that connection. Try and remember it, because there are times where their short-term memory is not great, or their working memory is quite weak. So we've got to try and come up with different strategies to help them move whatever's in their short-term memory into their long-term memory. And that may not be the same for every child, but the fact that you're trying different strategies, strategy A on Monday may click for one kid, strategy B on Tuesday may click for another kid. But the fact that you're trying different strategies trying different strategies within your teaching would just help the kids view it in a different way, and also just help them make those connections, instead of just sitting down and be like, right, we're going to write the word cloud and write it however many times until we get it. You could write it 10 million times for a kid with learning difficulties, and they probably still won't get it. We've got to try and make those links for the word to have meaning, for the sound to have meaning. Because at the end of the day, writing, we've created letters, which are technically just symbols. We've just given them meaning. So we've got to make sure that the child thoroughly understands what it is that they're learning. So if they're learning the word down and that owl sound, what symbol or what drawing or what color can we use, or visual can we use for that kid to remember that owl sound?
Yeah, I mean, there are adults that may need phonics.
Or adults, no, 100%.
To be honest with you, in this podcast right now, I'm going, Ayo, you've lost me, because
no.
If I ought to learn the phonics, we'd have to start from scratch and from the beginning. And I don't know if I can. I don't know what it is with me. I don't know whether because I'm trying to get the sound and also trying to spell the word, I find it too very confusing as an adult. So unfortunately for me, as an individual, I'm still spelling with the C for cat and all that, because I just find it quite overwhelming. And I don't think I may be the only one in this sort of space. But of course, moving forward, this is the way that we're going to teach children how the best way to spell. Now, is it working? Is the question. Is it working, the phonics way of spelling to children?
It is working quite well, because many words are phonetically spelled. However, sometimes I have a teacher at the school, he says that he likes phonics. However, it does create a generation of kids that just spell all words phonetically. And that's not the case, because we have what's called tricky words, like you, they, I, she, he. You can't spell those words phonetically. And that's where sometimes as they get older, you can see they're trying to spell it phonetically, but that's not that's not how the word is spelt. But because we've been using phonics for ages, it's or they've learnt with phonics, they're kind of just spelling everything in phonics. So I think, like everything, there are pros and cons. So if phonics isn't the way for old kids or adults, maybe learning morphology, learning morphemes, so learning a root word, a base word, the prefix, the suffix, and the meaning or definition of the prefix and suffix, so that they have a thorough understanding of what the word actually means. Because actually, phonics is great for decoding. If you know phonics, you can read really, really well. And if you figured out how to decode, you can read very well. But then after reading, there comes comprehension. We've got to be able to understand what these words mean as well. So that's why some psychologists or teachers quite like morphology, because it gets the individual to look at the root word, be able to spell the root word, understand what the root word means, and then how can we alter the root word and change its meaning based on the prefixes and suffixes we give it to them. Yeah, I hope I'm making sense.
Wonderful. You're making a lot of sense, Ayo. Thank you so much. This is so brilliant. I've learned quite a bit in this podcast.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. I just need many, many, many more years to be able to get it and spell it properly. You wouldn't believe it. I've got my degree and I've got my postgraduate certificate. However, I still struggle to kind of understand how these things work. But I do know that, teachers are using it and this is the way forward. And hopefully, we'll get a generation of dyslexics that will be able to link words, look at words and be able to spell it without struggling in any shape or form. Right. Now, tips and advice to anyone who's listening. And perhaps they're teaching the children how to read, spell, and they find in phonics difficult. What's 2 tips you would give to that particular parent who is struggling?
First of all, patience. Take your time with it. Do not rush it. Do not stress over it. It is challenging initially, but if what maybe the school has recommended for learning how to spell a word phonetically is not working, try something completely different. I'm a big believer in embodied cognition, which is about how the body feels towards something. So I always give the example of music. If you've been asked to sit on your hands while listening to your favorite song, are you going to enjoy the music more or less? And most likely it's less, because you've had to restrict yourself. You've stopped the movement, so you're not enjoying it. Your body's actually telling you, I want to move, I want to move, I want to dance, but you're restricting it. So, and that has changed your perception of the music. So in relation to teaching, I always say using what's the word? Things like sand, using sand, going outside, maybe jumping to each letter outside, that you are involving their body in the learning process. You're changing their perception towards the phonics. For instance, if you know your kid likes to jump around and can't really sit down so much, if you could go outside and write each letter on an A4 sheet of paper, and let's say it's the word sand. When they jump to the S, they have to say its sound. So then they jump to the A, jump to the N, and then jump to the D, D, and let's try and say the words together. They're involving their body, they're moving, if it's something, because it's something they like to do, you're linking what they love to do with what they don't like to do so much, and you're altering their perception of it, thinking, oh, it actually can be fun. Because I remember I was jumping to each sound. I was making those connections using my body. So I'm a big believer of using your strengths to help your weaknesses. Like, even I always say, when I was at doing my A levels, it's not phonics, but when I was doing my A levels and trying to remember what happens in the fight or flight nervous system, I used to sing all my revision notes. So when it came to revising, my friends would call me and be like, "Oh, can you sing this song about whatever it is?" And because I know my music memory is so strong, I would just sing it straight away without even realizing it. I would just sing it, and that would help with the revision and help them with the revision. So if you could turn phonics into a song, I know they have quite a few. I think Jolly Phonics have quite a few songs like "Answer My Arm," "Answer My Arm." So that's also involving actions and singing and dancing and all that stuff. Just changing maybe what you think the kid should do or the individual should do, instead of sitting down all the time and writing out the words. Just think outside the box, be creative with it. Color, draw, sand, whatever it is that is outside the box that will help your child or adult or individual learn better, then do that. I think that's my main advice.
Wow. Thank you so much, Ayo. Thank you so much for coming on to Ayo Dyslexia podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
It has been very, very useful. Now, just before you go, I'd like to say a very big thank you to Arya Morris, who's a researcher who goes and look for our wonderful, amazing guests to come on our podcast. Also, a very big thank you to Yola Pioski, who is the podcast producer, and she makes all this happen. And that's such a great collaboration of work that we do with Yola. Yola from Salt and Pepper Production. I want to say a very big thank you to her. And thank you to our listeners for, listening to our podcast every week or every other week or however you listen to it. That's absolutely amazing. We have had great feedback from some of our podcast listeners, and we get a couple of emails as well, actually. And we've also won an award for our podcast, which is absolutely amazing. So we want to say thank you very much to our listeners. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening. Thank you for listening to the podcast. And a special thank you to our funders, the National Community Lottery, Social Enterprise Sports Fund, and Resonance Limited for supporting the podcast. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back next week, same time, same place, with a different topic. Bye-bye for now.
The Aspire to Inspire All Things Dyslexia podcast is funded by National Lottery Community Fund, Social Enterprise Support Fund, and Resonance Limited. It's presented by Elizabeth Tashi and produced and distributed by Salt and Pepper Productions.